Hi everyone, Mark Merrill with Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media. As you can see, we caught up with the folks online on the live stream of the Democratic State Convention to choose their nominee to replace the suspended campaign and actually the dropping off of the Graham Plattner campaign to choose a new candidate to run against Susan Collins, the incumbent, Troy Jackson. We had the figures, and they're pretty roughly a little over 550 delegates voted for Troy versus his only challenger, Sandra Pelletier, who only got 5 or 6 votes. A little bit lopsided. So with that being said, we have a couple of excerpts from the convention as it was sent live streamed on Facebook and a number of other social media outlets. But this first person, folks, is Executive Director Devin Murphy Anderson. She led things off with an introduction, and then we'll get to Troy Jackson when he had a few things to say as well. Here's some of her opening statements.
And that doing what is right, even though sometimes that's not the easiest path. Doing what is right is what us Maine Democrats will choose every damn time. And that there is no amount of pressure or noise or national attention that will cause us Mainers and will cause us Democrats to stray or abandon our values. Because from the very beginning, Maine, this was our process. And when push comes to shove, what us Mainers always do is choose each other. We help each other. We support each other. We step up for each other. And it just so happens that this time that we were living out our values, we did it with the world watching. So thank you. Thank you for standing strong under pressure, for getting involved in this process, for engaging in our precious democracy, and for strengthening our party. Today belongs to you. I am so incredibly proud of what we have built together, but today is not just about looking backward. Today is also about what comes next. Because while we are gathered here today, there is a new father in our state taking on yet another job to help make ends meet. There is a grandmother who, after spending her entire life working, just lost her SNAP benefits. There's a small business struggling to survive under the crushing Trump tariffs. And there is a new Maine family who is terrified to send their babies to school and to drive to work for fear of being snatched off of our streets or murdered in broad daylight by masked federal agents that are a part of Trump's rogue police force. That new father is my little brother, a locksmith in Harpswell. He is making the impossible decision to leave his new family behind to go offshore fishing because as us Mainers struggle, Susan Collins is getting richer. And that rich.
That's just a few words from Ms. Murphy Anderson. We're going to move on to Troy Jackson himself, folks, who had a few words to say as well, and he tried to put it also in a little bit of perspective there as far as not only he and Susan Collins from the same county, although different parts of Aroostook County, he also wanted to use the opportunity to slam her as far as the oligarchy senator. You'll see what I mean.
Like many people, I was just trying to figure
Hope
out
you're
how
recording.
to
Test 1, 2. It is July 25th.
30 years later.
July 25th, 26th.
because I've always known. I know now. I'll know tomorrow exactly who I work for. After 30 years in Washington, she definitely seems that she's forgotten. For 30 years, she's told us that she's concerned. But look, concern is not courage. And what she says in Maine does not erase what she does down in Washington. So one way or the other, this November, she will answer to the people of Maine. Because this election is not going to be decided by corporate PACs, big pharma, insurance companies, or the billionaires funding Susan Collins. It will be decided in union halls and at kitchen tables. It's going to be decided out on those front porches in conversations between neighbors in communities that have been ignored or taken for granted for far too long. And it will be decided by people that have never volunteered for a campaign before. Because they know, we know it in our soul that we cannot afford 6 more years of the same thing. And that's how we, together, we will win this. You know, person by person, town by town, county by county. You know, we will welcome Democrats, Independents, Republicans who believe that working people fine deserve a fair deal. Even when we don't agree on every issue, because this movement is not from the left, it is not from the right, it's from the bottom, and we are rising!
Says Mr. Jackson. Hate to disagree with Mr. Jackson there, folks. Mark Merrill with Firm here as we covered a segment of the convention being held up at the Cross Insurance Center on July 25th to nominate a replacement in the Democratic Party to run against Susan Collins in November. It's Troy Jackson, as we said, by a wide margin of even his closest competitor, Ms. Sandra Pelletier. Now, just some things as we try to cover both sides of the issue, folks, as far as what Susan Collins is concerned. We've got a few things right here that Mr. Jackson is in error about. Mrs. Collins is also, or has, in her time in the United States Senate, working to make health care more affordable and accessible for families, seniors, and people who live in rural Maine. In the last Congress, 33% of all health care bills signed into law were authored or co-authored by her. And securing millions of dollars, guess where? Not in her pocketbook, as he suggests, but for job training programs, career support, and continuing education to help put more money in the pockets of working Mainers to address the cost of living increases. Strike two, Mr. Jackson. And passing the Social Security Fairness Act that restored benefits of 25,000 Mainers. In a rural state of 1.4 million, folks, that's a lot of people. Living monthly minuscule benefit checks to minuscule benefit checks. And Ms. Collins also insured nearly $185 million in retroactive payments in the past 12 months. She also rejects the radical progressive policies that hurt Maine working families and our jobs, focused on the job training programs, career support, and continuing education that help workers across the state and also securing $190 million, you may recall fairly recently on one of our podcast programs, $190 million in federal grants. That means that money does not need to be repaid. That's a loan. Got that, Mr. Jackson? A grant. But total, over a long period of time, $190 million in federal grants to protect rural access to hospitals and health care. Let's hope we can get Inland Hospital back on track and reopened. Also with the help of Bobby Charles. Hope, pray, and vote, folks. Republican. 26 million lives saved worldwide by defending programs that help Mainers with their health care. 8 million babies born HIV-free by funding international medical aid. $4.8 billion in Maine's global exports annually strengthens our economy here at home. And 170,000 good-paying jobs in Maine supported by international trade. That's just a short laundry list, folks. I'm going to leave you with this one here, folks. Mark Merrill with Firm. Got a big problem here. It's creeping into our state. If it hasn't already. It's exactly who we're talking about right here, folks. And they're nasty. And they don't give a damn who they destroy. The Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, you hear it all the time on Fox, Newsmax, and the others. Even Maine Wires talked about them many times, and the Maine Policy Institute. They're working to turn this country into China, Russia, Iran, Somalia, parts of Syria. That sound good to you? Doesn't sound good to me. Just thought you ought to know, folks. Look up the Democratic Socialists of America in your free time. It's a scary organization. In the meantime, as always, as you can see behind me here, our organization is Firm. Fairness in Reporting Media. Mark Merrill, owner, founder. Always about truth, facts, reality, and common sense. Find us all the time on YouTube, X, and our website at substack.com/MarkFirmNews1. Substack.com at MarkFirmNews1. It's on our car as well. We the people. We're all about freedom for all, not just select some of people or new Americans, as Janet Mills tried to push through before these elections got started in the primaries in June. And now this special election, or this special convention, we should say, by the Democrats. Vote your conscience, folks. Vote with your heart, not with your emotions or feelings. Everyone stay safe. Peace to all.